From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, pulling back the curtain on a brand new week, a brand new day, a brand new adventure for us here as we continue on with the Steve Gruber Show. Three big things to talk about this hour, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Number one, the end of the line for your brackets today is UConn and Michigan will play for the national title, but that really isn't the story. There's a big story out there. I'll tell you what it is. You may be surprised. Number two, the search for the needle in a haystack, a missing pilot in Iran, was met with success, and the prowess of the U.S. military shines even brighter today than yesterday. We'll dig deeper into this story today. And number three, we are witnessing the dawn of a new American era, where the slogan isn't just make America great again, it's out with the fraud and in with American progress. For years, the swamp in Washington and the radical left strongholds like California have been bleeding this country dry with waste, abuse, outright scams that lined the pockets of political cronies while real Americans struggled. But now, President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance are in the White House. They're not playing games. They're swinging the axe, cleaning house, and delivering results that the fake news won't dare cover. This is the America First mindset in action, rooting out the rot so we can rebuild the republic stronger than ever. Vice President Vance's anti-fraud task force has already suspended 221 California hospice and healthcare providers. That's right, 221. New Attorney General, the acting one, Todd Blanche, says it's just the start. DOJ isn't going to let the fraudsters get away with their crimes. Listen to this.
I will tell you this. You are right. This is an important and long overdue objective. Just today in Los Angeles, we had a takedown. 8 individuals were arrested for allegedly bilking over $50 million of intended loss from our taxpayer monies. And yes, this includes leadership in state governments, our investigations do, because guess what? They are in many ways the actual conduit. They're letting it happen by not doing anything to stop these individuals stealing from the American people. And so you're going to see this Department of Justice pour all of our heart and soul into fraud cases all over this country for the foreseeable future.
And there you have it. And these weren't mom and pop operations gone wrong. These were outfits raking in taxpayer dollars while delivering substandard care, or worse, no care at all. California has been a fraud factory for over a decade, folks. They've handed out licenses like candy at a parade. No oversight, no accountability. As California Assemblyman Bill Asaley says, Gavin Newsom is the fraud king. Here he is.
Yeah, in response to the governor, not good enough. Not good enough. They've not taken fraud seriously for over a decade here in California. They've let people out of prisons. They've decriminalized it. I call him the fraud king for a reason. He has reigned over billions and billions of dollars of fraud, whether we're investigating homeless fraud, EDD fraud, and now hospice fraud. It's going to be into the hundreds of billions of dollars under his watch. Remember, none of this fraud could happen unless California issued these licenses. California is responsible for administering hospice programs, licensing these doctors, and they're supposed to have passed regulations by January 1st of this year that were called by the auditor in California. He said California does not have sufficient regulations to crack down on fraud. He's refusing to implement those regulations because he doesn't want to own the problem. We're going to do our job. You're going to see a lot more fraud. We're going to work hand in hand with this task force, and I think it's going to be in the hundreds of billions eventually.
Yeah, sounds like he's giving Tim Walz a run for his money. Well, actually, they're both stealing our money, you know. Gets even better or worse, depending on your perspective. Here is Dr. Oz's take on the situation as he works alongside J.D. Vance.
We believe half of them are fraudulent. Half of the 1,800 prospices should not be in business if we are able to identify the red flags, and that's what we're basing these numbers on. These are not random assumptions. World experts at CMS say if you've got 100% or near survival, Certainly, if you've got to survive over 50% for a population that's supposed to have passed in 6 months, you've got a problem. If you're clustered in the same buildings as other crooks, if you're sharing employee numbers and license numbers, if you've got a small number of people, less than 50 members, you do that because you can hide what's really going on when they're small because you don't have reporting obligations. J-1 visa holders, there are lots of things going on in California that just are not rational, and we're going to take them out.
Half. Think about that. 1,800 hospices in just one city. And Dr. Oz is saying that 900 of them are basically ghost operations, billing Medicare and Medicaid for services that never happened, and worse, cheating and exploiting our seniors. This isn't some abstract policy debate. This is real money, your money. Stolen from the system that's supposed to protect the most vulnerable, but under President Trump and Vice President Vance, game over. At least I hope so. For too long, the DOJ treated fraud like a parking ticket. No more. The administration is laser-focused to investigate, prosecute, and shut it down. From California to New York, the fraudsters are on notice, clawing back every ill-gotten dollar and redirecting it where it belongs. To American workers, American families, American strength. But here's the beauty of it. This isn't just about punishing the bad guys. This is the setup for the comeback story of the century, because while we're draining the swamp of fraud, we're also unleashing the greatest economic engine the world has ever seen. Out with the fraud, in with American progress. So let's check the scoreboard. The U.S. economy added, you probably heard this, 178,000 new jobs in March alone. Even CNN was shocked. Here's an example.
I mean, the expectation was, what, 60,000 jobs, and it's 178? Wow.
Yeah, look, the job market bounced back in a big way in March, and that is good news, really blowing away expectations.
Yeah, blowing away expectations. We're seeing the results of a slew of MAGA policies that Trump made a priority on day one. That's what National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett says. Listen to what he has to share. Here it is.
I can say that this is an absolute blockbuster number. It's one of the best numbers that you've seen in a long time. And what it shows is that all of the cumulative policies that President Trump has pushed, the no tax on tips, no tax on overtimes, making the old Trump tax cuts permanent, deregulation, $18 trillion in new investments in the U.S. through our trade deals. All of that stuff, plus a big reduction in the trade deficit, has created an enormous amount of momentum for the U.S. economy. And so that momentum cannot be upended by a temporary Middle East skirmish.
Okay, I want to get to that.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Looking through the numbers here, these are real jobs. These are not Hollywood jobs. These are not little service jobs. These are real jobs. And not to insult anybody who has a job in government or in service, that's not my point. My point being is these are blue-collar, underlying, build a family, support a family jobs. Some real encouraging insights. We'll talk about those coming up. Welcome to Monday. This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, so some encouraging insights to be found in these job numbers that we were talking about before the break. Real jobs, not government jobs, not Hollywood jobs. Both of those sectors are down, which is okay. But it's the kind of jobs that actually contribute to the American way of life. Our economists are excited about it. Here's one. Listen.
What's encouraging in this report, and it was echoed earlier this week with the ISM and in construction spending in general, we are getting goods-producing jobs back. So what excites me about going forward is that we're going to get more blue-collar jobs, which we have needed more because obviously we have a very, very diverse population and not everybody wants to go to college, can go to college, and so we need these trade jobs, and they are coming back. You're seeing that obviously in manufacturing again this month. We saw it, as I mentioned, in the ISM. We're not only building data centers, we are also building new factories, and so that's going to be positive for construction jobs. So no question, up until more recently, the labor market's been lopsided toward the service sector, but that's where we've been. The question is, where are we going? And I think we are going to see more and more of these goods-producing jobs, which, by the way, are good-paying jobs. And
they are good-paying jobs, real jobs. I called this a couple of weeks ago because, yes, Trump's policies are helping facilitate the return of blue-collar jobs, but also AI is making these jobs more and more desirable. That's right, making them more real. AI can't do a lot of these jobs at all. And now is a perfect time for this kind of resurgence because with tariffs and other America First trade policies in place, manufacturing is seeing a boom. Here's our trade representative, Jameson Greer, explaining. Listen.
It's not what I think, it's what the facts show. When you look over the past year, manufacturing productivity has gone up to the highest level it's ever been. The past 2 months, we've had record-breaking export numbers for the United States, over $300 billion in exports in January and February. We've seen the trade deficit go down by 24% since April. So Americans are making more stuff, they're getting paid more to make it, and they're selling more of it overseas. So on every count, it's been a big win. Yeah, all good news. I've got some more for you. Under President Trump's drill baby drill energy policy and agenda, the United States is producing oil at record levels. Record levels. This whole thing about being dependent on foreign oil is about to go away. Listen to this.
Because of our drill baby drill program, America has plenty of gas. We have so much gas. Under my leadership, we are #1 producer of oil and gas on the planet without even discussing the millions of barrels that we're getting from Venezuela. Because of the Trump administration's policies, we produce more oil and gas than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. Think of that, Saudi Arabia and Russia combined. And that number will soon be substantially higher than that. There's no country like us anywhere in the world, and we're in great shape for the future. The United States imports almost no oil through the Hormuz Strait and won't be taking any in the future. We don't need it. We haven't needed it.
Yeah. Now, this gives us unprecedented energy security. We're talking record output in the neighborhood of 24 million barrels a day when you include no more begging OPEC for favors. No more letting foreign dictators hold our economy hostage. America is the undisputed energy superpower once again. More oil than Saudi Arabia and Russia combined, and we're also producing more natural gas than Russia, Iran, and China combined. Think about that. Our output has surged past 110 billion cubic feet per day, dwarfing what those three nations can muster together. This isn't luck, it's policy. It's unleashing American innovation, American land, and American know-how. Cheap, reliable, abundant energy means lower utility bills for families, lower costs for manufacturers, and a strategic hammer over our geopolitical rivals. While Biden was doing whatever Biden did in the White House and begging Venezuela for oil along with Iran, Trump and Vance told American producers, go get it. And they did. Folks, this is the MAGA miracle. It really is. Unfolding in real time, California's fraud factories were just one symptom of a system rotting from the top down. But now, the fraud task force is cleaning the slate. The DOJ is locked and loaded. Those 178,000 jobs are real momentum. Record manufacturing productivity. And on top of all of that, energy independence on steroids. With the U.S. outproducing the world's former energy heavyweights in both oil and natural gas. This is what happens when you put America first. You stop bleeding from fraud. You pour that energy into growth. No more excuses. The radical left will scream about cruelty, but we know the truth. The real cruelty was letting scams fester and ceding our energy edge to our enemies. President Trump and Vice President Vance are providing every day and proving it. Leadership makes a difference. Out with the fraudsters who gamed the system, in with the innovators, the builders, the workers, and the drillers who make this country unstoppable. So stand tall, patriots. The best is yet to come. More jobs, more factories, more affordable energy, more pride, more progress. Because when you drain the swamp, you don't just expose the muck, you plant the seeds for a stronger, prouder, energy-dominant America, for a new generation. This is our moment. And I, for one, can't wait to see what we build next. Really is important. All right, so what we build next, by the way, coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk big and go deep on SEAL Team 6, the Rangers, the CIA, the Air Force, all working together to find one missing pilot. And they did. Some call it an Easter miracle. I call it the greatest military on earth doing what it does best. Yeah, so it was a whole coordinated, orchestrated effort. It's pretty remarkable. That'll all be coming up in the second hour. You don't want to miss any of that. Support for today's show comes to us from PuraClean's Veterans Initiative. It's the PuraVet program, investing in our nation's heroes by helping them own and operate thriving local businesses in restoration. This is a great program if you're a veteran and know somebody who is. Check out PuroVet.com. It's a restoration corporation. Relentless customer service and relentless service for the veterans. 855-PUROVET. Give them a call. Get to the front of the line if you're a veteran and know somebody who wants to own a franchise. 855-PUROVET or PuroVet.com. PuroVet.com. We'll take a break and be right back. All right, I was shocked when I saw this number. I saw this headline, and I said, that can't be right. Because if it's right, we're in bigger trouble than I thought. You know, any given day, this country's under attack. But I want you to hear this. Can you guess what is the percentage of babies born in this country to illegal aliens, to non-citizens? Do you know? I can tell you the number. It's 9%. Let that sink in for a second. Basically, 1 in 10. 1 in 10 children in this country are born to non-citizens or illegal aliens. This at a time when the Supreme Court is trying to figure out what the 14th Amendment was supposed to mean. We know what it was supposed to mean. We're not stupid. It wasn't meant so your enemies could come in like China and have children all over your country, then take them home and train them to hate your country and bring them back when they're 18 or 20 years old to attack your country. That's not what the 14th Amendment was for, okay? We can agree on that, right? 10% of the kids born in America today, 10%, born to non-citizens, however you want to slice that. Pretty remarkable stuff, pretty frightening stuff, pretty much stuff that has to be put to an end. Everyone knows the next medical crisis is just around the corner, whether it comes in the form of a crippling winter storm or a pandemic or something much more mundane like a tick bite. You and your family must be prepared. where the Wellness Company comes in. The Wellness Company and its doctors like Peter McCullough, regular visitors on this program. They're medical professionals. They hold the gold standard when it comes to keeping you safe and healthy. It's the medical emergency kit, the contagion kit, the first aid kit, the travel kit. All these prescription kits contain an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks to assist you in the proper use of all the medications inside. Rest assured knowing you have emergency antibiotics, antivirals, antiparasitics on hand. Keep you and your family safe in case of emergency. Go to twc.health/Gruber today and order twc.health/Gruber. Use the promo code Gruber. You'll save 10%. Here's what it looks like, folks. Boom, go wide, Anthony. Look at that. Yeah, I've had these forever. I've used them. Yes, I've used them. You can get refills, too, when you need it. twc.health/Gruber. Promo code Gruber. You'll save 10% right here. Be safe at home. Boom. I'll be right back. As you know by now, I am a free speech absolutist. I believe in free speech. I hate censorship. I hate games. I hate, hiding behind the shadows. I like the Freedom of Information Request Act. I like to be able to get the information that I want when I want it. And I don't like the government playing games with it. Well, my next guest, I think, feels similar in many ways. Peggy Little is the new Civil Liberties Alliance Senior Litigation Counsel, and they're able to win a major free speech case. The State Department forced to end a censorship game. It's a scheme, but they're just playing games. Peggy Little, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve.
Big win for freedom in this country. Go ahead and just give the background of the case so the folks understand exactly what we're talking about.
Sure. The defendant is the United States Department of State, which for a shockingly long period of time has been engaged in censoring and indeed attempting to silence conservative news media. And this was started to be reported in 2022 or 23 by some very intrepid reporters, including my now colleague, Margot Cleveland, and Gabe Kaminsky, who was also uncovering this. And what the State Department was doing was using funds to rate conservative news organizations in cahoots with international organizations as well as domestic organizations, and then also outside organizations such as NewsGuard. It was also working very closely with the most prominent universities.
Yeah, NewsGuard, and I want to jump in on that because NewsGuard is a horrible operation designed to destabilize and destroy conservative media, and they do it a variety of ways. One of the ways they do it with operations like mine here, they will target your partners, your sponsors, and attack them and threaten them with rent-a-riot and such nonsense, right? And try to knock them down, shame them into taking their money away. NewsGuard is a horrible thing, in my estimation.
It was giving, get this, health ratings to various conservative news media, and it's to drive advertising dollars away. So what they were doing, and the State Department was funding a good deal of this, they were stepping on the funding hose of conservative media to silence it. And this became quite bad during the COVID period. And that rating that NewsGuard was giving health ratings is very indicative of the fact that they were using the COVID excuse for labeling misinformation, disinformation. But in fact, it was content and viewpoint suppression of conservative media. And we had an excellent record of showing just how this worked. So what happened is I was working with Gabe Kaminsky and Margot Cleveland, and then she eventually joined us. And this is very much Margot's case. She could not be with us this morning, but we found two courageous clients, Daily Wire and The Federalist, who were willing to take on the State Department. And don't diminish that. They had to have courage to stand up to the government and say that for the better part of a decade, you have been trying to silence conservative media.
They have. And so the Biden State Department encouraged private companies, government bodies, and NGOs. These NGOs are nothing more than activists, hiding behind a curtain to me.
They're governments too. they're under the delusion they're a government.
Yeah. It's frightening what they're able to do. Anyhow, future awards, grants, other funding from the State Department must now include specific written provisions prohibiting the funds from being used to suppress, censor, demonetize, downgrade, fact check, or constitutionally protected speech for Americans or domestic media outlets. That is a huge step forward.
It is a huge step forward. And I think there are, the reporting was really important. There are really 5 elements to this success here. The reporting. Also, getting courageous clients willing to sue. That's not easy. 3, early on, the State Department, as they always do, files a motion to dismiss our complaint as essentially nothing. And I argued that motion before a judge, Jeremy Kernodle in Texas. And what a great judge. He got it immediately. His decision talks about the primacy of the First Amendment and why no viewpoint is ever sacred or can be to the government. And what was really shocked, I think he was shocked, frankly. This was the State Department using funds it had been given for foreign affairs, right? And they can watch for and deal with foreign propaganda. That's part of their mission. But they were taking American taxpayer dollars that were to be used for foreign affairs to suppress domestic news media it didn't like. That abuse of power.
To suppress, to be clear about that, to suppress, to silence, to keep quiet. Those they didn't like. People like me, honestly.
Yeah, just like you, yes. And so Judge Kernodle said, no, you're not going to get this case dismissed. And that was a turning point for sure, because that meant we were into discovery. And what we found in discovery was mind-bending. I will, first of all, I should give great credit to Margot. She dug and dug, Margot Cleveland, and got some great discovery. But just as an example of how this works, you had the State Department working with people from the Stanford University, but many other universities too. But Stanford was doing a lot. And the whole goal was to get this cognitively inoculate the public against viewpoints it doesn't like. That was the language they were using. It's very Orwellian, very frightening that your government is using your money to be sure you don't get certain viewpoints that the current administration does not like. So Margot turned up just a whole network. I can't even keep track of the number of organizations, because you were talking about a game when you started. That's exactly what was going on. They had the Global Engagement Center, then they had a Park Advisors, and I think Margot said there were something like many dozens of these organizations that were doing the government's dirty work for it in the guise of getting a private grant or whatever. But this was
Right.
not a private grant; it was government money, and so she turned up just a whole host of totally embarrassing.
Where I'd leave this, Peggy, is a good friend of mine who is an attorney, a left of center attorney, 10 years ago. I said, this freedom of speech is under attack in America. He laughed at me. He laughed. He said, come on, Gruber, what's wrong with you? Over the last year, he's come back to me on more than one occasion and said, you're actually right about that. He's not some left-wing, friend. He's just an ordinary old-school Democrat. He goes, you were right about that. The freedom of speech and freedom of expression have been under attack in this country. And he goes, by people on my side, it's all true. I got to leave it there, Peggy, but keep fighting for us.
One good word for Secretary Rubio. He made the settlements possible, and he issued a statement that this will never happen again. And controls have been put into place to ensure it does not. So a shout out to Secretary Rubio.
He's made himself presidential. I'll just leave it there for today.
Okay, I agree.
Peggy Little, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. Welcome to a Monday. Welcome back to it. You know, we've talked about this in the past, and I'm going to talk about it again today because some people don't take this seriously, and I'm telling you, you need to. And that is, with all this interconnection in the world, people slide in, they commit fraud, and before you know it, the house that you own isn't owned by you anymore. It is a remarkable set of circumstances that can steal your property right out from under you. Tom Simon is a spokesman for Home Title Lock, former FBI special agent, 26 years of experience investigating white-collar crime, counterterrorism, and national security measures. Now a licensed private investigator, forensic accountant. He leads Simon Worldwide Investigations. He specializes in fraud and cases like this as well. Tom, nice to see you again today.
It's so good to be here with you.
You know, here it is again. I'm going to play a little news clip here, because we have these from all over the country, and it really, for me, amplifies and underscores what people are up against. Listen to this.
Glenn, Lou, you can imagine just how shocking this was for that homeowner to learn that he no longer had the title of this property here in Burbank. He also told police he never authorized the sale of this home located behind us here on Walnut Avenue. Yet, according to federal investigators, paperwork was filed, a loan was funded, and ownership was transferred, all without his knowledge or consent.
$1.5 million property, Tom. $1.5 million. It was a group of fraudsters. They orchestrated this whole thing into 2024. They used stolen IDs, fake paperwork. I mean, they did the whole thing, didn't they?
They did. At the center of this controversy is an actual realtor, a real estate professional named Glennis Cardona, who worked with 3 co-conspirators to steal this $1.5 million house in Burbank, California. So what she did was she orchestrated the sale of this house from an unknowing owner to the stolen identity of an unwitting buyer. Now, she arranged for lenders to loan $975,000 for this home sale using forged deeds that were filed with the county clerk's office. Then Glennis was able to be the escrow agent for that transaction. So when the lender sent the money to the escrow, Glennis and her crew just stole the money among them and split it among themselves. So let's take attendance here. We have a homeowner. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so the real estate agent, this is not the first time we've heard this either, Tom, orchestrates the entire theft.
Absolutely. And neither the buyer nor the seller knew this was happening.
Yeah, it's
So
unbelievable. Go ahead.
We have a homeowner who never consented to the sale of their house. We have an unwitting home purchaser whose identity was stolen, who is now saddled with almost $1 million in debt. We have 2 lenders who aren't getting paid back. We have a title company who unwittingly ensured the transfer of title from the seller to the buyer. So thank heavens my former colleagues at the FBI put the criminal case together, and 3 of these fraudsters were busted, and the 4th is currently a fugitive. But despite the capture of the bad guys, the actual rightful owner of the home has a problem on his hands because the FBI doesn't have the authority to restore that home title back into his name. And meanwhile, there's $1 million lien on this property that needs to be handled. He's going to end up spending a fortune on attorneys to make this right.
You know, here it is again, because what we see here, and I talk about this interconnected world, people get on the internet. There are so many different ways to identify who owns a property, and then the games start. But the problem is, as is often the case, as technology advances, the laws lag way behind, Tom. Again, $1 million lien on this home, you would think this would be simple. Well, this was bogus, this was fraudulent, just give me my house back. Lenders get their money back. Doesn't work that way, does it?
This thing is going to be tied up in litigation till you and I are old men. This case is just such a mess for every single victim involved.
Yeah, and that's what I don't understand. You would think, well, you know, people say, well, this is easy. You just go correct it. And you say, well, these people did this. You show the FBI or the local sheriff's department or whatever, and they're like, it's a civil matter at this point. We can't help you oftentimes. Now, there's criminal charges here, of course, as there should be. But the tangled web, as you point out, will be old men before this is rectified. So you got involved with Home Title Lock because this is what they specialize in, making sure you don't end up at your mailbox tomorrow going, what do you mean I've got a mortgage that I owe all this money on, and I've got all this paperwork, and the court's sending you documents, or whatever it might be? Because that's when you realize something bad has happened, when it's too late.
Absolutely. I mean, Home Title Lock has they call it a triple lock $1 million guarantee, where they're going to monitor your home title They're going to notify you if anyone starts messing with it. And in a situation like this, if your home is stolen from you, they're going to spend $1 million in legal fees to get it restored to you by their U.S.-based restoration team. I bet the owner of this home wished he had home title lock.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, so I have people saying, well, that doesn't really happen, Steve. That really, every week, you bring me somebody new from a different state. We've had them from all states in this country. This scheme is going on all over the country. And because thieves and criminals and fraudsters have access to information because of the internet and so forth, it happens every day, doesn't it?
It does. This is a real crime problem, and it's difficult to actually quantify it because no one's really keeping appropriate stats.
Yeah, so my advice is to get hooked up with Home Title Lock. Again, they will come in and make sure that you are protected up to $1 million because we see these schemes all the time. In this particular case, it's not the first time where a real estate agent, somebody that these people trust, right? It could be a family member that people trust. And then, well, that trust is broken in such a way that they're like, how did that happen? Because when the dust clears are like, they've got to be sitting there confused, angry. And again, the people that win on this deal are the attorneys. I'll give you the last word here.
This is just a nightmare for everyone involved, and it's so avoidable. I mean, Home Title Lock for pennies a day are going to cover this thing and make sure you're not going to end up getting ripped off in one of these situations.
Yeah, very important. Tom, I really appreciate you always bringing these stories to us because it puts a face, a real human face to everything that's actually happening out there. Tom Simon from Home Title Lock, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
And by the way, today you can get a 14-day free trial. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code's Gruber. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Gruber. Don't end up at the mailbox going, I should have listened to Gruber, which I say all the time. But Home Title Lock, we have it because when I was first asked, where's your title? I didn't know. I know now, and Home Title Lock knows. They'll spend up to $1 million to make it right. Sleep well tonight. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code is Gruber. The stories are out there every day. Don't become a victim. I'll take a break and be right back. This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, well, I hope you had a great Easter. A lot going on, of course, over the weekend. The missing pilot who was found. And it's just a remarkable story. We're going to dig deeper into that coming up in just a moment here. The amount of people and personnel involved, right? To find that missing pilot lost on Friday, found on Easter Sunday. And the amount of coordination, I mean, we're talking about the Rangers, SEAL Team 6, the CIA, many assets from the United States Air Force, from the United States Army, from the United States Navy. This was a giant coordinated effort. For 48 hours, that pilot was on the ground. We'll try to get you everything we can. We're going to give you some updates on that, but it was incredible ballet of... And it's once again, it is a demonstration of the incredible ability of the United States military operating in a giant country. This province that the pilot was lost right in the north end of the Persian Gulf there. That province. I mean, this is a giant piece of real estate. And then there was concerns that the homing beacon, the rescue beacon, or whatever you'd like to refer to it as, was a trick of the Iranians drawing the Americans into an ambush. They had to be careful of that. Anyhow, to me, it's really impressive. Overnight, let's see here, biggest bridge in the country was taken out. Near completion, says the president. Near completion. Biggest bridge in the country taken out. Further isolates everything and puts the Americans further in control. We're going to finish a job. We're going to finish it very fast, he says. We're getting very close to the president. We'll talk more about that. And we'll talk in detail about this rescue mission. This Easter miracle, as some are calling it. Coming up. Glad to have you on board. You can always send me an email, stevegruber.com. Follow stevegruber.com to get some latest stories, great information. Liberty Page, great writer there every day. So much more at stevegruber.com. Be right back.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, jumping back into it as we continue this brand new day of this brand new week, of course. Right after Easter Sunday, I hope you had a great Easter. Three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, the war over AI centers playing out all over the country, but one state is drawing the line, saying no more new data centers until at least 2027. By the way, that's just next year. Number two, the deadline coming for Iran as the president has promised massive military strikes if they do not back down and open the Strait of Hormuz. I don't think it's likely. We'll see something big soon. And number three, speaking of the war, the downing of that F-15E Strike Eagle in Iran was very bad news for the U.S. military. But to be fair, to put this into perspective, it was also the first plane of any kind, aircraft of any kind, to be lost to enemy fire in more than a month of fighting in Iran. It's the first plane shot down. The pilot was lost behind enemy lines, one of them. One was found, one was missing. And Iranians were scrambling, offering rewards, begging for anyone to get them the pilot. They failed. What they got was an Easter miracle. The pilot picked up after 48 hours of evasion techniques, 48 hours, to be found on Easter Sunday. The former DHS Secretary under Barack Obama, Jay Johnson, says the rescue of the American pilot was more complicated than killing Osama bin Laden. Listen to this.
This operation for the first pilot and the second pilot was a remarkable exercise, demonstration of U.S. military courage, technology, power. I would encourage the President and the Secretary of Defense, consistent with operational security, share as much of that with the American public so that the American public can appreciate what goes into this kind of operation is more complicated than the bin Laden operation, for example.
Think about that.
I'm not sure any of that.
That's saying something.
That is saying a lot. Now, joining me to discuss is Ivy. Of course, Ivy, good morning.
Good morning. What a rescue, huh? Wow.
SEAL Team 6, Army Rangers, the CIA, F-15s, helicopters, the American Air Force, the American Army. They had the Iranians put a bounty on the head of this pilot.
Oh, yeah. And he evaded, obviously, and climbed about 7,000 feet up to a spot that then he, put his beacon on so that those who were trying to find him could actually know where he is or was.
Yeah, he got himself up a mountainside. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it was 7,000 feet. He climbed, evading, enemies.
Yeah, they're 200 miles inside the country. It's
right.
Pretty much. I want you to hear one more thing about this, if we could. Go ahead and play bite number 12, Anthony. Go ahead.
We train for this endlessly. It's a part of every time we send air crew over enemy territory. We have detailed, elaborate plans to go get them. It's a very basic part of who we are as American fighting men and women. So that plan swung into action. I think it was executed pretty effectively. As always, you've got somebody on the ground, maybe injured. They got to get to a position where they can hide until you can get to them. All that seemed to work out very well. We did in fact lose a couple of aircraft in that mission. But I would just tell you, it takes a year to build an aircraft. It takes 200 years to build a military tradition where you don't leave anybody behind. You take the aircraft trade any day in a situation like this.
There it is.
The other lesson, I think, is a hard lesson for Iran.
All right. Go ahead.
That's what I was just thinking. It makes me proud to be an American when we hear rescue stories like this. It's just no man left behind.
Period.
Yeah. And I think it's incredible. But this was the only aircraft thus far in this war with Iran that has been shot down by the Iranians. Is that correct?
That's correct. Although I think
there was one shot in friendly fire, and then we have
lost. Well, there were 3 shot in friendly fire over Kuwait, but I think that maybe, and I saw this on Friday, and I wasn't paying close attention, but I think we might have lost an A-10 Warthog after this. But
okay.
The point being is casualties are minimal.
Right.
Donald Trump used potty words to say open up the Strait of Hormuz, words I can't use here on the broadcast, giving them basically until, I think, tomorrow.
Right.
For the Iranians to leave the Strait of Hormuz alone, or he's just going to unleash hell on earth, he says. So,
well, I mean, when you're dealing with this sort of, completely insane, if you will, group of people that will just, kill and kill and kill and not come to the table to negotiate. I mean, what choice does he have?
I don't know who's left to negotiate. They killed out another, one of their senior members of the IRGC killed over the weekend as well. I don't know who's left to negotiate, to be honest with you. But the fact of the matter is somebody's still fighting. And that's what happened when they decentralized the Iranian Revolutionary Guard back in 2009. They decentralized. So if a war did come like this, they've got 31 separate, operation centers now because there's 31 provinces in Iran. And they all have operational control over their province, I guess.
Right.
But this, I just don't see how this goes on much longer. After 13,000 targets being hit, what's left to hit?
I'm not sure. Maybe there's a lot more and we just don't know.
I guess.
But I do want to talk about this AI Maine that is considering the statewide ban on these data centers.
The thing I just mentioned. Yeah.
Right. So do you think that this is going to put us behind in terms of this surging AI technologies that are being put into place? Because I think there's now, how many states are there? I think there's like 15 states, 10 to 12 states that are considering restrictions or moratoriums on these data centers. And I understand that there's concern. It takes a tremendous amount of energy. It takes a tremendous amount of water to keep these systems cool. And so I know that the president, didn't he sign something that said you need to be able to
provide your own power?
So,
he did.
That is a good positive step.
Well, and I think the state of Maine, the restriction was on a certain size data center. If it took more than 20 megawatts or something like that was the restriction. There was like a line.
I guess I'm just not sure. What is everyone's concern about these data centers? I mean, what is your concern? Do you have
My concern is, what the hell are they for? Who are they looking at? What's really going on? Is it really just my pictures from vacation they're storing? I don't think so.
Well, you have to think about how much data, how much computing power it takes to run AI systems.
I don't trust them.
But we use them every day. So
I get that.
There's,
But okay,
and
we use them every day.
Go ahead.
We've been using them every day for years. All of a sudden we have to have
not necessarily
100 new data centers?
We haven't really been using them every day for years. I think as people come online.
Well, what's the cloud? It's data centers.
It's data centers. That's true.
Been using them for years.
Right. And that does take a tremendous amount of computing power. But AI systems, and I'm not just talking only, ChatGPT or Gemini or these other platforms that you're using. And we can continue this conversation after the break. But I think it's worth a debate. In terms of if we should be actually using these, which I think we should.
I don't know. I don't trust them.
All right.
I don't trust, but we'll pick it. Guys, jump in the chat room. Tell me what you think. What do you guys think about all these AI data centers? What are they for? What's the real need for hundreds of them? We'll be right back. Me and Ivy. She's the good-looking one there. I'll be right back. I'm going to go jump back into this AI conversation. Bring Ivy in, of course. And I'm just looking at some of the comments here in the chat rooms.
Mm-hmm. What do they have to say?
Well, AI is dangerous is one. They've been watching you for decades, Steve. Well, I appreciate that.
This
they
is
like
true.
me. They've been fanboying me. Another guy, I use AI daily in automotive repair. Look, we go to AI all the time. Hey, how do you fix this? How do you find something right to fix it?
Mm-hmm.
But here's the one that I think might be the most on the money. From I Ain't Nobody. Steve, they're building the skeleton of the Chinese model to survey and control the population, so the social credit score. You know, look, it just seems to me, this explosion of AI data centers is inexplicable.
Right. There's no avoiding it. It is the way of the future. Do there need to be guardrails and protections? Absolutely. I completely agree with that. But I think that, if you think of hospital systems or any type of major corporations that are going to be bringing online AI systems to create efficiencies in their companies, that's going to require a lot of computing power and
Yeah,
so
to me, the acceleration is concerning. I'll continue to watch. I understand why states like Maine are saying, wait a second, pump the brakes.
Right.
And we'll go from there. All right, I want to shift gears.
Okay.
It's spring. And I want to ask you about this, Ivy, because this is something we've talked about a lot recently, and that is sunscreen. Because a lot of people out on the internet now say the sunscreen has all of these petroleum chemicals in it and so forth. Also, petroleum. If you read the ingredients of your sunscreen,
right,
and then you're slathering that on your skin, and a lot of folks say, and I'm no expert here, but a lot of folks say there is a proportional rise in skin cancer and melanoma that goes hand in hand with the excessive use of sunscreen.
Right.
You've heard these stories, and here, Gary Brecka, health guru. We all know who Gary Brecka is. Here's what he said.
I mean, we've been taught to fear the sun. I saw an interesting graph of the parabolic rise in skin cancer, superimposable with the parabolic use of sunscreen.
Absolutely.
And,
Ian Wishart, he's an author that talks about that.
Yeah. In fact, that's it. That was it.
He even claims that sunscreens are causing basal cell carcinomas.
Yeah, because of the inflammatory process
and because
in the surface
of the
of the
vitamin
skin.
D deficiency.
Yeah. I mean, that's arguably, I would say maybe vitamin D and maybe zinc, but probably from what I've read, the two greatest nutrient deficiencies in the human body. And when you think about when God made us, he made us with the ability to make one vitamin.
That's
And we only make vitamin D3. We don't make any other vitamins. I mean, without eating and drinking, ingesting. We make it from sunlight and cholesterol.
That's right.
And we've also vilified cholesterol.
And if only we had another few hours, we could go to cholesterol, but we haven't got time to go there.
Well, let's touch on it really quick before we wind the podcast
How can
down.
we do that?
Anyhow, so it's just
that's so I think people are afraid of sun exposure because they're fearful of getting skin cancer. But the reality is, if you're out in the sun, say 30 minutes, if you have a lighter skin tone or a darker skin tone, it just depends. But getting sunshine and really on a large part of your body is so important for vitamin D.
It is.
And vitamin D is so important in so many different functions of the body and in terms of a cellular level. I think people forget how important it is. And so we cover our bodies up with a lot of clothes or hats, and also we slather our bodies with
even
with
if
sunscreen.
You're out there with a big floppy hat, you're still getting exposed to
Yeah, but it's actually important to get for guys, you can have your shirt off, or for women, you can have a bikini on and really get some sunshine for 15 to 30 minutes.
Right, not to the point of sunburn.
You're not going to get burned in that amount of time. But if you're really fair skin, I would say go on the lighter side of things. But there's nothing better than just real sunshine. Okay, you can't supplement. You can supplement vitamin D, but there's nothing better than getting sunshine. Right. And in terms of the sunscreen, I think you have to be.
I won't use it.
think while you have to, if you're a smart shopper, when it comes to sunscreen, you need to avoid very specific chemical compounds in sunscreen. That's what they're talking about there. Because you're putting it on the surface of your skin, and this is the largest organ that we have is our skin. So then things get, bad elements or
we just had
bad
this woman
chemicals get into your skin.
On Friday, talking about, what she thought were climate trail, she called the chemtrail thing.
Right.
By the way, a lot of response to that. Appreciate that. We'll have her back. She's an interesting guest. But why worry about the stuff coming down from here if you're putting it directly on your skin, right?
Right.
I've been reading these things about sunscreen for a while. I haven't put on sunscreen in a long time, and I'm just going to try to forgo it. They got these great shirts from all these fishing companies now that are real thin. You don't need to put on that chemical on your skin. And look, it's all petroleum stuff. I don't think that's probably particularly healthy.
It's that shirt that has microplastics in it.
Yeah, and microplastic. There's another thing I got to worry about.
Yes, but I think the good rule of thumb is just be smart about it. But yes, it's in the same. Also, people who slather their skin with lotion. One good rule of thumb is if you're not going to eat it, you probably shouldn't put it on your skin. Now there are things like there's some facial stuff. Just really make sure that you're doing your research on what you're putting on your body. Yeah. And there are some sunscreens. I only buy a very specific sunscreen that doesn't have the chemicals that they're talking about, and I don't have those on the top of my mind to tell everyone what they are. But
bring that list tomorrow.
Yeah, I can bring that list tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, Ivy. Love you.
All right. Love you.
All right. Speaking of, there's something else I wanted to share with her, but I'm going to share it with you folks after the break. Again, part of this thing that I'm seeing all the time of athletes no longer afraid to speak their mind about certain topics, right? They're done with the whole BLM, George Floyd, end racism, whatever it is that they're done with the political stuff on that side. They're coming back to the right. I'll have an example after the break. All right, so the national championship game is tonight, as you know, right? So Michigan plays UConn. Maybe you care about that, maybe you don't. It's fun for us around here. We do a family brackets. Looks like my daughter's going to win. She's been pointing that out for a couple of days now that she's going to win, and she's very pleased with that. But my point is the ability and the willingness for people to speak out has really become something. Here from UConn, one of their stars is former Michigan player Terrace Reed Jr. Listen to what he says.
The fact that this is Easter weekend, how significant is that to you? And the fact that what does the resurrection mean to you?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I mean, the resurrection is really everything. That's like the staple of Christianity. So I feel like without the resurrection, there is no Christian, there is no Jesus. So I feel like once you can show a lot of significant evidence for the resurrection, I mean, it shows a lot of the proof towards Christianity. So I feel like just to go through where I came from throughout my college career, how Jesus just literally changed my mind. Like, he changed everything about me. And it's crazy looking back. Like, I saw my old team Michigan the other day and spoke to a couple of those guys. They were like we just seen each other just grow so much and just change. So it's just been a blessing just to see myself just, like I said, grow through Jesus. I mean, he just, like I said, wiped my eyes clean. My whole mind is different. The way I talk, walk, act, change. The way I treat other people. It's like more not to get, but more to serve. You know, I feel like I'm here to really serve and serve others.
Yeah, and then he went on. So the point is that these athletes no longer afraid to sit quietly, all right? Everyone's focused on how the conflict in the Middle East is raising oil prices, but there's another concern. Oil isn't the only resource being constrained. About 1/3 of global fertilizer comes through the region. Yep. And with spring planting on the way, farmers are sounding the alarm, some saying they can't afford to plant. Well, when one piece of supply chain gets messed up, the rest, you know how it follows. Higher food prices, reduced availability, maybe even panic buying. Don't do that. That's why having an emergency food supply at home makes so much sense. That's where my friends at My Patriot Supply come in. Right now at preparewithrav.com. When you get a 3-month emergency food supply, they'll include a free mega protein upgrade and an incredible $200 bonus you don't want to miss. It's a simple way to protect your family with whatever comes next. Go to preparewithrav.com. Get your emergency food supply today. That's preparewithrav.com. Don't get caught short. I'll take a break and be right back. It's a Monday here on The Steve Gruber Show. One guy complains because all right, welcome back as we continue on now. We were just talking about this. Because what is it, next week you got to pay your taxes? I mean, you don't have to. You like they used to say on the TV, you can pay me now, you can pay me later, but deduct everything. That's what my next guest says, deduct everything. Tracy Burns wrote the book, Deduct Everything, hundreds of tax tips, legal write-offs, credits, loopholes. And I don't like to call them loopholes, Tracy. That's just the law.
Okay.
They're not loopholes. They're the law, right?
That is absolutely true. And that's why I suggest you deduct everything you legally can. Because I think a lot of people leave things on the table. They're afraid that some caricature like that looks like Uncle Sam's going to come knocking on their door and ask for more money. Don't be afraid. If you qualify, take it.
You know, about 10 years ago now, I was allegedly drawn out of a hat for a compliance audit. I don't believe it was random, but they claimed that it was. Because usually when you get audited, they come and they look at a specific section of your tax return and say, tell us about this. We don't like it or whatever. A compliance audit, for those of you, uninitiated, means they can come look at everything. You didn't do anything wrong. They just for the benefit of all taxpayers, we're going to rip your whole life apart. Thank you for that. 54 demands for documents and so on and so forth. In the end, Tracy, we got $13,000 back, which was just enough to pay the accountant that had to go through everything for us. But the fact of the matter is, there are things you can deduct. If you make videos and you have, any attempt to make money on social media, you can deduct all sorts of things. If you have a piece of ground, more than 10 acres, you can call it a farm if you're trying to make a little bit of money. Write it all off. What are some of your tips?
Well, I think you make a really valid point here that the tax code has become convoluted, a big fat book of favors, and in my opinion, eventually needs to be jumped. That said, take your time and go through. That's why I wrote the book in tip forms. Go flip through and see if any of the things even remotely jog a memory of something you did this year. Because you're right, those 1099 folks are fast and furious out there. And there's a load of things they can deduct if it truly pertains to their business. If it truly pertains to the business of making videos, you should deduct it. But again, to your point, if the IRS does come knocking, they're going to want documentation of all that. So save everything. I would say save it digitally. They don't want to see a shoebox full of receipts anymore. Thank God they've sort of come into the modern day age. They're getting there. But save everything. Document everything. But what you qualify, take. I will also say that this whole tax on tips thing has been blown out of proportion. Tips are not tax-free, Steve. You have to report all your tips. Then see if you qualify for the $25,000 deduction. Same for the overtime, which is wonderful. All our hardworking firefighters, police officers, EMT people who work overtime deserve a break. It's a $12,500 deduction, but you have to first report everything, then see if you qualify for it.
All right, so let's talk about this other thing that some of my friends really use this to their advantage. Schedule F, I believe it is, for a small farm. If you have 10 acres of dirt anywhere and you're attempting to make a profit, whatever that might qualify as, Tracy, again, you buy a new vehicle, the sales tax is a write-off. You go buy, fertilizer, it's a write-off. You go buy flowers, it's a write-off. I mean, everything. There are certain businesses that are more flexible, shall we say, and legal, and because people call them loopholes, I call it the law, right?
It's the law. It's the law. It's the law, but it's also, you and I both know, these are favors that were handshaked in the coffers of Congress when they were trying to get something passed. And they said, hey, why don't we give the farmers a break if you want me to sign X? And so that's how this tax code was created. We all know that. Yeah. And if you have a farm, and if you do really qualify and you have 10 acres with a llama, then take what you deserve.
10 acres with a llama. That's what it takes. And sell some flowers along the road. A friend of mine plants a few trees. He sells a couple of Christmas trees. He's attempting to make a profit. Farming is the one business, by the way, Tracy, that I've come to understand, that you can lose money forever. Most businesses, you lose money for 3 years and they say, okay, enough of that, right? But a farm, you could, if you got some chickens or whatever you do, you can lose money on infinitum, right?
You can, but you're right. On the other side, you have 3 years. Otherwise, the IRS calls it a hobby, and you then no longer can deduct all the costs that are associated with it. So if you really, truly do have a side hustle or a 1099 business, you got to get your you-know-what in gear and start making some money by year 4.
Yeah. All right. This other thing you do, certified divorce financial analyst, this caught my attention. What does that mean?
Basically, that I can help people going through divorce, after divorce, get their lives back in order and get on to part 2. It's there are some nuances when you get divorced. I am been divorced for 20 years. I know a lot of people that are going through divorce. It's really scary for some. So getting through the financial nuances is what I love to do, because I really do believe there's a pot of gold at the end of that tunnel once you get through it.
Yeah. All right. So the book again, Deduct Everything. It's possible. Yeah, and I'll leave you with this anecdote, which is this. A guy that I know pretty well, who's made 7 figures for a long time, and he's the one that laughed about the word loophole. He said, look, I just figure out the law and use it to my advantage. That's not a loophole. That's doing your homework. He has not paid more than $5,000 or $6,000, he told me, for 20 years in taxes. Doing everything and deducting things and having a little piece of dirt and 100 other things that he does. He doesn't pay taxes, basically. Last word to you.
The argument to that would be maybe he can, and I'm air quoting, afford to hire someone to find all the extra perks that the lower middle class families cannot. Hence, the word loophole has come.
Yeah.
These things have been come to called loopholes because of that. But God bless. God bless. He's doing it legally. It's his money.
Yeah, absolutely. Tracy, really good stuff. April 15th is your deadline. Get to work. Legal write-offs, all of it. Thank you very much.
All of it. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah. Look, remember when Donald Trump said, I don't pay anything in taxes because I'm smart? He wasn't wrong about that. He wasn't not. You go through and you figure out, okay, I can write this off and this off and this off. Stop worrying about it. As I tell people, one of the worst episodes of my life was when my parents were going through an audit and I was, 12 years old, whatever. What an uncomfortable summer that was. Nobody was in a good mood. There was a lot of, angst in the house because of the audit back in the, I think, 1970s, and a lot of problems. But fear not the audit. A lot of favors out there for you to be found. Meanwhile, my good friends Tim and Emery with Patriots Relief are still out there. They're giving away CPAC specials, 45% off. CPAC's over, but the deal is not. It's a double deal right now, featuring a CBD fan favorites like the CPAC Combo Relief Packs or their CBD on-the-go roll-on. Combo packs include your choice of internal products such as soft gels, gummies, tinctures, combined with topicals like roll-ons, rubs to experience relief both internally and externally. On-the-go relief. Look, these are products that we use, right? These are products that we use. PatriotsRelief.com. And the phone number is 877-230-1776. 877-230-1776. PatriotsRelief.com. Products that really work. In fact, Anthony came to me and says, hey, you got some roll-on? I said, I do. And I just dropped it. Patriots Relief right next to the desk every single day. I'm not going to dive down for it, but I got the cap. At any rate, we got a lot more to cover here today. Michael Chamberlain's on the way. This is the Steve Gruber Show. Good to see you on a Monday. I'll be right back. All right. Misinformation. How much of it do you have to see in a given day to say, look, how much of this can we possibly take? Right? Michael Chamberlain is the director of Protect the Public's Trust. Michael, welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks very much for having me, Steve.
Always good to talk to you. Look, I look at the headlines, and every day I see, well, during the COVID pandemic or non-pandemic or whatever it really was, another bit of misinformation, another place for sleight of hand or just dishonest people. We're in front of the camera telling us this, that, or everything else. When do we get to hold people accountable? When do we get to that point in the conversation?
Well, that's hard to say, Steve, but this attack on the free speech and this tagging things as misinformation from people that happened during COVID, it's all over. And the misinformation was coming from the healthcare bureaucracy itself.
That's right.
And we got some documents from the Surgeon General's office, and during the Biden administration, Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General, he went on a campaign across the country. He did a series of interviews and events and conferences, and he was talking consistently about fighting against misinformation. This was a campaign, but the misinformation that they were talking about was the information that was coming from the American people about what was going on. And they were working with tech companies. They even admitted that they were demanding algorithmic changes to tech platforms, and they were.
All right, so let me ask you some questions, Michael. Let me just ask you some questions. Number one, did the mRNA jab prevent infection from spreading?
Well, the health officials don't.
Let me just do these are yes or no questions. Did it prevent anything from spreading? Yes or no? The answer is no.
As far as I know, no.
Right. Did it protect people from getting sick? No.
People still got it after they got the vaccination, the vaccine.
Standing 6 feet away from somebody, did it stop anything from good or bad happening? No. I mean, keeping kids out of school, did it help them, stay safe from COVID? No, but it sure did set them back in education. The point that I'm getting here, you're exactly right. The misinformation was being piled upon us. And the people in Germany, France, Canada, England, all the places all over the world, we were getting lied to every single day. And anybody that said, wait a second, we were deplatformed, we were silenced, we were shunned. Some of us were arrested. If you had church in Canada or California, a good chance you're getting handcuffed and dragged off to jail, right?
That's true. The authorities were really heavy-handed on people who had expressed doubts. And even in these documents that we found from the Surgeon General's office, they essentially determined that dissent was dangerous. So they were going after the tech platforms. They had this campaign against what they called misinformation, but as we pointed out, and you're pointing out here, the misinformation was largely coming from inside the house, inside the public health bureaucracy itself. And the way to fight misinformation is with good information. And if you think that something is wrong, the way to address it is to come back with the right information. But that's not the approach that they took. They appealed to journalists, they appealed to tech platforms, they appealed to them to not report what the American people were seeing with their own eyes.
No, you've got vaccine injuries, you've got vaccine failure. I got terribly sick from the vaccine, right? People that watch this program, listen to this program, know that. I've talked about it a number of times because I was talked into it because they had bullied my child that was a sophomore in high school into basically they kept you in a locked room, basically, you and 12 other kids that didn't want the vaccine. Unless you got the vaccine, they treated you like cattle, right? And just would lock you in a room. And so terrible things were going on. So she asked to get the vaccine, which we were opposed to, but we didn't want her locked in a room, being treated like some sort of freak show. So we acquiesced. We should not have. We were wrong. We had a moment of weakness, so it is. But I got sick from it. Never be treated that way again. Never be tricked again. So going forward, the support for the CDC went from 85% to 40%. People aren't buying it. Well, where do we go from here, sir?
Well, where we go from here is, from our part, we are going to continue to report on the misinformation that was coming from inside the CDC, inside the HHS at the time, and get that information out to people like you and to the policymakers and others who are able to respond to what was going on and what we're finding out now, and what a lot of us knew at the time, but is just we're revealing again and in black and white that this a lot of this was misinformation. You and I talked about it a couple weeks ago about the CDC hiding the study that showed that the people that had prior infection and their immunity that they gained from that was superior to that from the vaccines, and yet they continue to push the vaccines on people who really didn't need it, and so that and put people at risk of their jobs and everything else. I feel for you, Steve. I had a kid in school at the same time during COVID, and the learning loss that the students had. This is a generation was
it's terrible,
destroyed. It was,
one thing they never
horrible.
talk about. I don't mean to cut you, but one thing they never talk about, Michael. How many kids were were juniors and seniors in high school that dropped out of school and never came back? They don't tell you those numbers because that is a drag on society, generationally speaking. Real quick, last word to you.
Well, as we're saying, Steve, a lot of the misinformation was coming from inside the house, and
Sure
these
it was.
campaigns that they were going after tech platforms, they were hounding journalists, they were going after regular people, normal people who were just reporting on what was happening to them in their lives, and the healthcare officials, the healthcare bureaucracy. I mean, it was driven by power, politics, and the narrative, and not science and healthcare.
Power, politics, and the narrative. I think that puts a nice little bow on it, Michael. Michael Chamberlain, always appreciate talking to you, sir. Thank you. We'll talk again.
It was great to be here, Steve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. When we come back, Brock will check in on sports, give us a preview of the championship game to be held at 9 o'clock tonight. Way too late for a game, but that's what it is. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. As we continue now, we look at UConn and Michigan playing for all the marbles. Here's Brock Palmbush.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. UCLA won their first ever national championship in women's basketball yesterday with a 79-51 victory over South Carolina in the national title game in Phoenix. Gabriela Jaquez led the Lady Bruins with 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 assists. All 5 Bruins starters were in double-figure scoring. UCLA finishes the season at 37-1. There were 11 games in the NBA yesterday. Winners included Boston, Cleveland, Dallas, and Phoenix. In the NHL, there were 7 games played. Winners included Pittsburgh, Ottawa, Minnesota, and St. Louis. In Major League Baseball, a full schedule. American League winners included Tampa Bay, the Chicago White Sox, and the LA Angels. National League winners included the New York Mets, Cincinnati, and Arizona. And in golf, J.J. Spawn won the Valero Texas Open by 1 shot by shooting a final round 67. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock. So let's talk about this game tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Your team, you had Arizona all the way through, but I get it.
I picked them in January, and they got thumped on Saturday, 91-73 by Michigan.
All right, so the way that Michigan loses, the teams that have beat them, Duke, Purdue, Wisconsin, ran them slow. They didn't get enough possessions. They ran the Duke game was, I think, like 67-63, right? Low scoring
68-63, but close enough, yeah.
Right.
Well, you got to shoot from the 3-point line to have a chance. Shoot well from the 3-point line. That was established early in this tournament with Howard and St. Louis, who hung with them for a little bit more than a half simply because of that. Michigan's perimeter defense hasn't been the greatest, except when they buckled down against Alabama in the Sweet 16 and turned a halftime deficit into a double-digit win.
Yeah.
They
put on a complete clinic against Tennessee, but anyway, Michigan's favored. I realize that, but UConn is a very well-coached team, antics and all.
They've won 2 of the last 3 national championships. They're trying to win 3 out of 4, which would be pretty incredible in the modern age of NIL. And it's just,
We'll
Danny
see.
Hurley's a terrific coach, and they're going to be difficult to play against. We'll see.
All right. There you go, Brock. Thank you. Who do you got in tonight's game? I'd like to see Michigan win. I'm a homer, right? I'll be up late. We'll be back.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, welcome back to it as we dive into it on this Monday, continuing in another hour here. A big hour for you here. Three big things for you to be mindful of today. Of course, we just mentioned this when the Michigan Wolverines playing for a national championship in the pride of Michigan. Number two, return to sender. Dana Nessel challenging the Trump mail-in ballot restrictions. We'll see. And we're going to find out the Supreme Court's not going to allow ballots to continue to come in weeks or months later. We're going to find that out. And number three, the nation's economy has been the focus since this war in Iran began. Congratulations, Biden, to the United States military for recovering that pilot. 48 hours. 48 hours they were missing in country. Your oil prices hang at about $110 a barrel. Still a lot less than it was during Joe Biden's time in office, obviously, but it means that gas prices continue to remain elevated. Yeah. Gas prices, the national average is $4.11 now. $4.11, which, again, I'm just going to tell you, I think that's nonsense. A week ago it was $3.99. You know, there's plenty of oil in this world, but we continue to fight it. But the economy in general, that's what I wanted to spend some time with today. Trump advisor has great news for waiters and others getting tips these days. I want you to hear this, all right? Listen.
Doing it. You know, last night I was in a restaurant and I asked every waiter, how much money did you make now that they're doing their taxes because of the no tax on tips? And the average answer, well, the lowest answer was $3,000 last year, and the highest was $10,000, which was
that for people who were dining there or people who were working there?
No, that was the people who were working there.
Okay.
And so all of that is something that's going to feed this momentum in the economy. And while we're feeding that momentum, again, we've got all this foreign investment into the U.S. We just had a groundbreaking in Ohio for a big data center with SoftBank. And so this is really an economy that can't be slowed down.
Yeah.
What is it?
So that's Kevin Hassett, the economic advisor to the Trump team, says the economy cannot be slowed down. 178,000 jobs reported last month. The expectation was for 60,000, so it was triple of expectations. Triple. You know, gas here over the weekend came down. It was 4 something last week. Yesterday it was 382. So, I mean, a significant decline in the cost of gasoline, at least in my neighborhood. What's happening in your neighborhood? You can always tell me at stevegruber.com. Send me an email, right? It's bad policies generally that hurt the economy. You have situations like the war in Iran that will certainly weigh in and create pressure on the economy without question. And with oil at $110 a barrel today, it should be at 85, but it's at 110. And if the Europeans don't want to go get their oil, so be it. They can pay the price. Go get it yourselves. We're not your errand boy. Big Brother's not interested anymore in footing the bill to protect you. The United States showed up with all of our equipment and all of our money for the war in Ukraine, which we should have nothing to do with, was my estimation from the beginning. But we did. Then when we tell our NATO partners, hey, we need some help to take out this Iranian regime that's been the lead state sponsor of terrorism for 47 years, killed lots of Americans, they say no and close their airspace to us. Now, I look at the Cold War. Iran has killed far more people with its proxies and direct attacks than Russia ever did. So why would we go and fight, on the side of Ukraine? Just a question for you to consider. Anyhow, back to the economy. Jamie Dimon, head of J.P. Morgan, says the exodus out of blue states is intensifying. This is back to the policy comment I made. Bad policy. Listen.
Why are you buying more real estate in Mamdani's Manhattan right now? Well, he wasn't the mayor when we started building that building 5 years ago. But here's a lesson, and this lesson is true for companies, cities, states, and countries. You got to compete. There's no divine right to success. Just read the history books. So our headcount in Manhattan, when I got to J.P. Morgan, was 35,000, and now it's 26,000. Our headcount in Texas, it started at 11,000, now it's 33,000. That's what happens. And, part of it's the highest individual taxes, highest estate taxes, highest corporate taxes, anti-business sentiment, and that's what happens. And, you could be any ideologue you want, but that's the real world. And people vote with their feet, and you can't get mad at them. If you believe in a free country, if someone wants to move to Florida, that's their right.
Of course it's their right. If they want to flee Mamdani's New York City, where they continue to inflict financial pain on people, and more taxes, free child care, free $60,000. You've heard me talking about this for a week. Mamdani and his plan to give free child care to government workers, people that are already on the government paycheck, people that have a government job, now getting free child care in the David Dinkins building. David Dinkins, of course, a Democrat, left of center, but not a radical. Well, at least I don't think he was a communist. So for the people going to work there every day now, $60,000 is what it costs to have their child taken care of. Now, the average number across New York City is actually $23,000. So the people of New York, the taxpayers, get to pay triple that amount so that the people already getting a check from them in the first place can get free child care. It's equalized misery. It's what it is. It takes misery and just makes it even across for everybody, right? Even across for everybody. So good luck with that. One more thing about Sheridan Gorman, murdered in Chicago last week, a sanctuary city. You know about all that. Congressman Mike Lawler is from New York. He says she was from my district. And these sanctuary policies and so forth are getting people killed. I wanted to follow up on this. It's bite number 10. Listen to this.
Chris, and this is critical. Here is an example of not enforcing our immigration laws. An 18-year-old girl in my district, Sheridan Gorman, was killed in Chicago after an illegal immigrant was allowed to enter into the United States during the Biden administration. He was captured, he was detained, he was released. He went to Chicago, he committed a crime, he was arrested. Under Chicago's disastrous criminal justice laws, he was released back out onto the street, and he executed this 18-year-old girl. Democrats do not want to fund ICE and Customs and Border Patrol. And what will happen is individuals like Jose Medina will be allowed to enter into the country and kill innocent Americans.
Congressman, let me just
that is
get
wrong.
back to the
I will not
question.
stand for it, and that is why we are pushing back against this.
Yeah, Kristen Welker trying hard to say, bah, 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 bah. More like that, more like the sheep. Not but, bah. You got it. Let's see. Eric Lufer up next. Citizens Research Council turning 110. We'll tell you what that means after the break here on the Steve Gruber Show. All right. Well, public policy being what it is today, you know, you man, you look at it and you go, how did they come up with such a dumb idea? I mean, I do that sometimes. Eric Lufer is Citizens Research Council president. Citizens Research Council has 110 years to look at public policy and how it's evolved in Michigan over time. They've changed their name in 1951, and they're here today. Eric, welcome back to the program.
Glad to be back with you.
The Citizens Research Council is one of those rare things that's been around for a long time. Tries not to get too bogged down by politics, but geez, Eric, everything's politics these days, isn't it?
Everything it is, but if we go into the issues with a mindset that we just need to get good information so that policymakers and citizens understand what's going on, then you can apply whatever political lens you want to it, but we have to agree on the facts before we can have constructive criticism, constructive conversations on issues.
Well, there's a problem. Nobody agrees on the facts. I mean, pick your topic. People don't agree on facts. That's a very base problem you've identified.
It is. We just have to keep putting them out. I think there's a thirst, right? I think in today's day and age, there's a far right and a far left, but there's a lot of people in the middle that just want to wake up in the morning and get their kids off to school and go to work and have a good day. So they want government to work. They want the street lights to work. They want to be safe on the streets and have the fire department show up if something's wrong. And they don't want to get bogged down in all that type of stuff. So
well, they can pretend they can not want to get bogged down all they want, but they got to participate.
Well, they have to participate. Yeah, we absolutely want everyone participating.
So, so give me an idea here. Look, the fire department still shows up. Ambulances not as well as before because they keep going out of business because of bad policies. So ambulance companies go out of business. Then each ambulance company has bigger and bigger pieces of real estate. It's just as an aside and an illustration of what's going on. What about the 10-year budget crisis that you point out in your comments here? Can people agree that we have a budget crisis? Because apparently the Democrats just put forward an $88 billion plan. Almost, $8 billion bigger than before. Apparently they don't agree on the facts.
Well, budget making is the most political of all things that government does, trying to apply your lens to the priorities of government. And when we have a divided legislature, a Democratic Senate and a Republican House, getting them to talk to each other and getting them to have constructive dialogue on where the state needs to go is important. The state has a lot of issues, right? We haven't grown as a state for 50 years. Our population's about the same. Our income has been declining. The sort of high-paying jobs we need to be successful into the future just aren't coming to Michigan. So you can apply whatever blame you want to why we got in that position, but we've got to come together and turn that around and have a future for our kids.
I'm happy to accept that and assign blame where I see. I'm happy to do that for you. Eric,
as you're right.
8 years running now. Fix the damn roads. Don't see the roads fixed. When Rick Snyder left office, I believe the annual budget in Michigan was $53 billion. The proposal now is for $88 billion. That's a $35 billion increase in 8 years. And what did we get in return for that? Roads, bridges, schools? No, Michigan's 44th in education. I'm more than happy to assign blame. Massive tax increases, massive amounts of money coming in, a massive failure of results. Right? Tell me where I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, everything you said is right. And what we're here to talk about is that there's an organization out there trying to help people understand why those types of things have happened, trying to get the information so that you have the facts. Our predecessor, our founder of our organization, said the right to criticize government is an obligation to know what you're talking about. So we want to try to give the information so that people understand why the budget has ballooned in the COVID years and post-COVID years. Try to understand why local governments, even though they're getting the funding, why the local government, municipal finance system is broken and is not providing a good future going forward. What is it about our school finance system that is not getting the results we want? So if we just sit and say it's broken, then we're not getting anywhere. We have to dig into why that, what are the issues causing that, and how do we fix it?
All right.
So that's what we're trying to do.
I'm here waiting for answers.
Source of information.
What do you got for me? I'll take some answers here. I mean, we've gone to 44th in education after being a top 10 deal. You know, Michigan was a wealthy state. Now we're a poor state. I can follow it pretty clearly. The shift from conservative policies and programs to more and more leftist policies and programs have left us broke with a poor education system, infrastructure that doesn't work, roads that are not fixed, kids that think they can change their gender when it's not actually true. I mean, I can go right down the laundry list. Michigan, 50 years ago, was a wealthy state. 60 years ago, now we're not. We were a state that led in education. Now we don't. We were a state that led in infrastructure. Now we don't. We were a state that would get Ford Motor Company and John Deere to come here and build plants. Now we don't. It's pretty clear why. Last word to you.
You know, over 50 years, we've had Republican governors and Democratic governors.
Well, if you consider Bill Milliken a Republican, which I don't.
Well, I'm not here. We don't deal in the politics of it. So,
but to be fair, I mean, and I'm not. Look, to be fair, Eric, the policies have led us to where we are, and the policies are, whether they're Republican or Democrat, are left-leaning policies that have gotten us here. That's, it's indisputable. But I appreciate you coming, and I'll have you back anytime. I'm up against a hard break. It's a good conversation to continue. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Really appreciate it. Squander money. Tax more. Squander more money. Tax more. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. That's wrong. Wrong. Period. All right, let's see. What are we doing here? How about a common vitamin could bring you all sorts of relief? I always have this stack of things over here just in case of emergency, right? Let's see here. Researchers studied 1,747 COVID patients, right? And they found that when it comes to brain fog, fatigue, shortness of breath, and so on and so forth, vitamin D. Again, here it is, vitamin D. I keep hearing more and more about vitamin D. I hear it from Ivy. I hear it from other people. I hear it from... We need more vitamin D in our lives. D3 supplements as a baseline. A key takeaway is that vitamin D supplementation looks promising for reducing the risk of developing long COVID, but does not appear to affect the severity of the acute infection. So it's long-term solution. More vitamin D, please, which means getting out in the sun, which is what we were talking about earlier, right? What we were talking about earlier. You need to take care of your health. Vitamin D is a big part of your health. I'm not putting on sunscreen anymore after I've read about all the stuff that's in sunscreen and the issues with it, but I will get out in the sun, just not too long. And when I talk about your health, I used to think a mattress was just furniture until I got a ghost bed. Honestly, the first night I slept down, I woke up thinking, wow, I feel great. Because I did. Ghostbed doesn't build mattresses. In fact, I got a crown on my little Oura ring first night. Got a crown, 94. Beat that. They build engineered sleep systems at Ghostbed. Their beds are serious health equipment designed for relief and recovery, not looks and fluff. Your body needs to heal, but if you're waking up stiff, if you're tossing and turning, or it's too hot in your bed, or if you're taking Tylenol or ibuprofen before you go to bed just so you can sleep better, man, that's an issue. You need to look into it. I love Ghostbed because you get 101 nights to try it at home. If you don't like it, you send it back. 101 nights risk-free. Ghostbed offering the audience, you, 10% off the lowest price of the season. We have the lowest price of the season, extra 10% off right now, ghostbed.com/Gruber. Right? Promo code's Gruber. Ghostbed.com. Promo code is Gruber. You're going to be happy you did this. All right? I'll take a break and be right back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, so unprecedented assault. How big government unleashed America's socialist left. New book from Real Clear Publishing, all right? JT Young is the author of the recent book. JT, good morning.
Good morning to you, Steve, and I hope you had a happy Easter yesterday.
We did. The weather could have been nicer, but, you know, the end result of the third day was probably more important than the weather.
Exactly.
So we'll just take that as a win.
Right.
All right, unprecedented assault. How big government unleashed American socialist left. Look, I don't know what unleashed the socialist left, but I think it began with people who I think are criminal in their behavior, like Howard Zinn, lying about America and implementing and injecting that into American schools. I think that we've seen continued failure, spend more money, continue to tax people. We're $40 trillion in debt, but really we're $160 trillion in debt in this country if you put in all the unfunded liabilities. I mean, we're being attacked from every direction. Every direction, JT. Where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, I think the No Kings rally that took place a week ago would be a good place to start, because a lot of that protest was funded by the ultra left, some of which were from overseas. It was organized by the many groups that were part of the socialist left. It was held in far left enclaves, and it was covered by an establishment media that has refused to delve into where the funding, who the attendees are, what the protests were being organized for. And even with all that said, it attracted just over 2% of the U.S. population.
Well, I think that's probably an exaggeration in and of itself. It didn't attract, it funded and paid for somebody to go someplace, and therefore they participated. Whether the money came from Singham or Soros or the Chinese Communist Party or a combination thereof, which it does. You know that, and I know that. And then it's ginned up by bot farms that are also paid by Singham, Soros, the CCP, and others, right? I mean, let's be honest about this.
Right. You're absolutely right, Steve. Their fingerprints are all over this. Their aims were explicit. They were mentioned several times. Look at the signs that were being carried, that were being printed, that were being handed out en masse by avowed socialist left groups here in the United States, and the protests they were hoping would be part of their revolutionary organizing activities here.
Yeah. So how do we look? Here's my problem. We're jammed up, JT, with schools and colleges and universities that ram this ideology down kids' throats. I mean, we're being attacked by China, Russia, radical Muslims, Singham, Soros, the anti-American zealots. I mean, we being ordinary Americans who just want to get up, look at the flag, smile, take their kids to school, learn about good things about America, how we are an unprecedented good nation, the best of nations in the history of the world. We're tired of being insulted, attacked, maligned, all of it. How do we ever get back there?
You make a great point, and I think a lot of it has to start in our homes itself. I mean, that we as families just have to start putting these values in front of our children. We have to be, arguing that what you're hearing, what you're seeing from some of these so-called, media outlets, or what you're being even taught in some of the schools is just factually wrong, and that there is an agenda here, and that we have to be cognizant of it, and we have to be resistant to it.
Yeah, but the problem is you and I get it, but a 12-year-old doesn't get it. A 15-year-old doesn't get it. And this is why, by the way, one of the next big pushes will be for the Democrats to get 16-year-olds to vote. That's already been proposed. People might go, "Oh, that's crazy." Well, a lot of things that they say are crazy, like giving up, coal-fired plants to put out windmills and solar panels to power the grid, or keep the border open. It makes the country stronger and wealthier. It does. I mean, they say crazy things, and people go, "Oh, that would never happen," and then here we are. Sharia law, that'll never happen in America, and then here we are. And so on and so forth, because you get little pockets of it, little pockets. And those pockets then metastasize. And then they metastasize across our universities and our school systems, right, JT?
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And this is certainly a great impetus for school choice. You know, that parents can start to move their children and should have the right to move their children to schools that will educate them, truly educate them, and prepare them for life going forward, not indoctrinate. So it's just, we need to get back to that, educating, not indoctrinating. And that you're seeing this, you're seeing more and more parents moving their children, and you're seeing more and more families moving to places that allow school choice. It's just another driver in the exodus from blue states to red states. And a lot is made of what we see in regards to high taxation in blue states. And that's absolutely true. That's absolutely an impetus to leave. But also look at where the school choice movement is strongest. It's also strongest in those red states. So it's just another reason for these families to move themselves to a place that represents their values and that has a freer societies.
You're right about that, JT. There is a shift, but the question then becomes: is it in big enough numbers? I just read a statistic to the folks this morning that I find shocking, even to me. 9% of the children born in America today are born to non-citizens. 9% of the babies born in 2025 were born to non-citizens, Chinese, illegal aliens, go down the list. If 10% of your population isn't from here, and the Chinese have these birth tourism deals, and they take the kids back to China until they're 18 or 20 years old, then bring them back to America, 1 million or 2 million at a time, which is the plan. I don't know how you ever write that, Chip. JT, I don't mean to be a downer, but there it is. I'll give you the last word.
No, I think, Steve, you're outlining a number of problems here, a number of things that we need to be focused on, that we need to address. And I think it needs to start with, where is our money going? And I think people who are looking at these protests, they need to look closely at, what are the ulterior motives, and in a lot of cases, the exterior motives of what these are designed to do.
Correct. Yep, greatly appreciated. The book, Unprecedented Assault, How Big Government Unleashed America's Socialist Left from Every Damn Direction. I added that part. JT didn't write that part. I did. JT, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve. Have a great day.
It. You too. All right, I'll take a break. Maybe Ivy can solve the world's problems when she comes in here in just a moment after this.
She said she will solve them. She has the answers.
She does? Good. Yes. Finally, somebody. You know what I find upsetting, Ivy?
What's that, Steve?
Well, we had all this great weather, and then it's just. Let me sum up the weather for you.
Listen, I think that spring.
You can write that down, by the way.
Okay, good to know. Noted. This is the weather.
48, 39, 54. Rain. Really?
Yeah. Spring in Michigan is like having Tourette syndrome. It's like
Except
cold,
I'm the one
hot,
swearing.
cold, hot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Good summary. So let me ask you, Steve, how do you feel about space? Would you go?
Hell yes, I would go.
Yeah?
Heck yeah.
So you'd go, launch.
But I don't want one of these cheap, Hollywood stunt deals where you're just kind of up at the edge. No, I want to go.
I would agree. I would go too, but I'm not sure my body is physically capable of going because I think there's, some people have this like weird inner ear thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love roller coasters, but I can't handle them because I pass out or like,
Well, they can just put you in a coma before they send you.
I'm not sure that's the best plan.
You just wake up when why not? You just
I really don't think, I'm not sure that for whatever reason I'm equipped. My body isn't equipped to do it.
Well, I'll go
just because
for
of
you.
the G-forces. I just have a real big sensitivity to it. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that you're that way because you can handle roller coasters. You don't get seasick. You don't have any of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm very insensitive.
You're it depends on the topic.
So
John
Glenn went into space when he was 78. So I still got time on the clock. I was there when he got launched.
Oh yeah, that is such a cool story.
Yeah. So I was there.
You were there for NBC News, right?
I was, and they lit that bottle rocket. We were at that time. The photo deck for all the networks was 1.5 miles from the launch pad, and I stood right in the front, working for NBC News, doing live shots for NBC. Mm-hmm. The Earth shook. The world. It was awesome. That's a bottle rocket now.
Yes, that is true. And I want to give you an update on the launch into space
of Artemis.
Of Artemis 2, and
Artemis 2.
But let's play that by Anthony.
All right.
So a little before 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, we're going to pass the Apollo 13 distance record by humans, and that record is 248,655 statute miles. That's when we break the record. And then tomorrow evening, around 7:07 p.m. Eastern, we will reach the farthest distance from Earth at a distance of 252,760 miles. That's 4,105 miles farther than Apollo 13. You asked about the percent of illumination. My recollection, it's close to like 21%.
Yeah, the caveat there, though, is that is the percent of the far side that is illuminated at closest approach. So when they are closest to the moon, they will see 21% of the far side. On their approach, as you saw in that visual, they will see the full disk. It will include a big section of the near side as well as that section of the far
essentially.
Side. Isn't that neat?
I'm writing all that down. 252,000 miles from Earth. I think that's incredible.
Well, they showed a little picture, and it's like, Earth is a tiny little crescent, like when you see the moon. And that's what the Earth looks like to them as they travel towards the moon, which I thought was really cool. But they're looking for new landing sites, landing zones, so that we can actually send people to the moon.
Well, they're not going to land on the dark side of it. I mean, we've never seen the dark side of the moon.
Well, I don't think that they're not planning on landing. They're planning this mission.
No, I understand that.
Okay. Yes. But they want to get.
They're scoping out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, they want to make sure they can get to the furthest point and be able to get back safely. Obviously, that's
that's kind of key.
Yes, check the box there. But then they, as they look at future landing zones, then they can say, okay, we can land here safely. Then they can do spacewalks, things like that, study the moon's surface, and then return to Earth. So just really, really neat.
We've all been fascinated by space my entire life, since July of 1969 when they landed on the moon. And yes, they landed on the moon despite what people say. Which I'm not going to go into that
this
idiocy.
Mike Ospier's debate, but continue.
Not going to go into that idiocy. Yes, so from July 1961, I mean, you look at the most popular movies of all time, being it Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever, right? And then the movie Project Hail Mary, another space, but which we saw by the way over the weekend. Fun
That's
movie.
a good movie.
It was fun. It was clean. It was very entertaining. But it's about space travel. I mean, all these big blockbusters about space travel because it captures our imagination.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, I don't know what the future holds, hundreds and thousands of years from now. Maybe we do.
Like, I'm just looking forward to next week.
Maybe we can, hey, honey, you want to go to lunch? Just fly to space and catch lunch in space. Who knows what the future could hold?
I'm all for that. But again, you asked me if I would go. I would go absolutely.
Yeah.
If they called today and said, hey, Grubes, it's time to go. Yeah, I'd be over there with Sarge working out, because, if you're going to strap into that thing, you got to make sure you're, like you said, Ivy, you got to make sure.
Performance.
Well, these astronauts, they train, and they train hard.
They do.
Because all that G-force and...
You don't, you lose, because there's no gravity, your loss, muscle mass loss, is speeds up. So you have to work out daily to keep your muscle mass
Do they work
up.
out on the ship?
Yeah, they work out.
Really?
Yeah, they do. There was one of the astronauts was seen, like doing a rowing machine, because
if you don't, because you don't have the pressure. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Why don't they do the centrifuge thing, and create gravity?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Look, just lots of questions. Lunch on Mars? Maybe not. Let's go to Saturn. All right, it's good. No, I like it a lot.
It might be really old by the time you get there, but...
Well, they'll have that figured out, too. They'll have me back to 25.
Right.
There you go. All right. I don't want to be 25 again, by the way.
Oh, no.
No, I've been through enough.
Maybe 30. 25? No.
35, maybe. Yeah, anyhow. Love you, Ivy.
I love you, too.
All right. What's for lunch? A trip to Mars? Wouldn't that be something? I mean, I'd be all for it. Anyhow, I'll take a break and be back with some final thoughts on this day that Michigan plays for national championship after this. All right. So here's I do have a complaint about the game tonight. And it's been the same complaint about a lot of these things. Look, first of all, it's on Monday. That's nonsense. Should not be on Monday. Should be on a weekend. But this is the way they do it now.
They've been doing it on Monday night for a million years.
I don't care.
Okay.
It's wrong because it punishes people that have a job, because you're going to stay up and watch it, aren't you?
Of course I am.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you're going to go take a 2-hour nap and come to work.
That's might be pretty close. Actually, they have moved the game up. It used to be 9:18 or 9:21 Eastern time. Now it's 8:50.
But really 8:50?
Yes.
Or pop in circumstance and I saw some weird guy, some band I'd never heard of, Smoke 'Em If You Got 'Em or whatever the heck the name of the band.
That was the Chainsmokers.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, there was a concert
Useless.
in between both games. I'm like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I don't want to see that either. Useless. If you're going to put Aerosmith or the Rolling Stones out there, fine. Other than get that garbage off my screen. But they're trying to figure out how to make money at every
Well, of course.
Every turn, right? Yeah. Anyhow, I'm only mildly bitter, but
It sounds like you're more than mildly bitter.
So easy. So 8:50 is going to be the actual tip-off now.
That's the listed tip-off for Michigan and Connecticut. Michigan, a 6.5-point favorite.
I'll take the over on the tip-off time.
Okay.
I saw people in Ann Arbor started camping outside the bars last night around 11 p.m.
Yep. Saw the same thing.
No, those are just homeless people.
No.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Anthony hasn't camped outside a bar since this weekend.
That's true.
Which I appreciate.
So who you got tonight, Steve?
I think UConn's dangerous. I think Michigan should win it, but I think UConn's dangerous because they're very well coached. If they can slow it down, they win.
Okay. We'll find out.
We'll see how that plays.
Hoping for the best.
Absolutely. It'd be nice to bring one home for the good guys.
And for the Big Ten.
And for the Big Ten, first time in 26 years.
Indeed.
Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. Remember, go blue and only you can save America.